Hello everyone, it's that time again. Here are the next 10 titles in my top 100 JRPGs of all time. We are on the home stretch now. Today we're starting at number 50 and counting down to 41, and I can tell you now, there are some incredible games on this list. If you missed out on the first 5 videos, you can check them out in the info or in the comments below. And as always, here's the fine print. This is just my personal list and it will be different to yours. I haven't played every JRPG out there and this list is constantly changing as time goes on. I would also love to know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Do you think there's something too high or something too low? I'd love to hear what you think. Some entries in this series will also be grouped together if they're related in some way or if I feel that they're around the same mark in terms of quality. Now, if you got any enjoyment out of this list, hitting that like button, the super thanks or commenting would help me out a lot. You could also sub for more JRPG content, including the next installment of this top 100. And a huge shout out goes to Eka Celestiono for recently joining up as a member. Thank you so much, I truly appreciate your support. And finally, I also have a full review out for most of these titles, so check out my previous videos if you're interested. Alright, let's get into it. At number 50, we have a serious fan favourite. Skies of Arcadia was originally released in the year 2000 on the Dreamcast and then a few years later on the GameCube. And despite being on countless gamers' top RPGs ever lists, it has never seen a re-release. However, Sega just filed a new trademark for the name, so hopefully we're going to hear something positive very soon. As you would expect from a game named Skies of Arcadia, the game takes place in the skies of a place called Arcadia. Perhaps the most interesting thing about the game is the unique setting. The entire game is set around 6 civilizations that are located on several floating continents. You play the role of Vice, a young sky pirate, and the majority of the game involves fighting the evil Valuan Empire who are attempting to take over the other continents. Then you throw in the mysterious Fina, who is on an unknown secret quest of her own, and this story is suddenly given a load of depth, twists, turns, and mystery. You know those moments from your favourite childhood RPGs, the ones that just made you smile? This is the feeling I had with Skies of Arcadia. This journey is one worth experiencing. For a game set in the sky, you would expect a large focus on airships, and that is exactly what Skies of Arcadia delivers. You will do a lot of travelling in various airships, but better yet, they play a huge role in the plot as giant airship battles are a huge focus of the game. The world, or should I say the skies, have loads of towns and dungeons to explore with plenty of potential crew members that can be recruited to your cause. Each of these characters provides some sort of benefit, such as additional abilities for your ship in battle or the ability to forge weapons. The turn-based battles are pretty much what you'd expect from the genre, with the SP system being the standout mechanic. Each turn, your party will build up a shared amount of spirit points, and these are required to unleash powerful moves and magic. Do I use a mid-powered attack this round or save my points for a high-powered attack next round? Managing these points is where the strategy comes into play and creates some very fun battles. Skies of Arcadia is absolutely worthy of both its critical acclaim and a spot in my top 100. It takes something special, something different about an indie RPG to get me excited, and Flowstone Saga did just that. This RPG is exactly what you'd get if you crossed a quality 16-bit retro JRPG with the world's best-selling video game, Tetris. Personally, I've never really been a Tetris fan, but now I am a Tetris fan. Actually, I'm a Flowstone Saga fan, and a huge one at that. The story follows the journey of Mirai, a young woman who wakes up on the mysterious oceans and islands with no memory of her past. Early in the game, Mirai stumbles into an ancient rune and finds a mysterious item known as a flowstone. This allows her to modify existing structures and fight, Tetris style. From what initially starts off as a pretty light-hearted fun adventure, soon takes a turn when a bunch of pirates sail to the islands, and this sparks a load of mysteries and conflicts for Mirai and her friends. The story and the characters get the thumbs up, and the mix of light-hearted fun with heavier scenes were very well balanced. And then you have the combat. Wowee! At the start of each battle, you'll be presented with a Tetris-style battlefield. You'll need to clear lines to inflict damage to your enemies. The bigger the clears or the more lines you complete in a row, the more the damage. This alone is a lot of fun, but Flowstone goes absolutely all out with additional mechanics, such as special tiles and mana abilities to ensure you always have a lot to think about. Aside from providing one of the most unique, addictive combat systems I've ever experienced, Flowstone Saga also includes everything else you'd expect from a quality JRPG. Incredible 16-bit retro-style visuals, a soundtrack absolutely jam-packed full of bangers, loads of customization options that allow you to create many different playstyles, and as I mentioned before, a story and cast of characters that'll keep you playing until the credits roll. It's not too often that I find an indie RPG that is just so surprisingly good. Even though I'm not a Tetris guy, this game was absolutely my jam and is one that everyone should check out as soon as possible. Tales of Xillia will always be special to me, as it was the first Tales game I ever played, and it also encouraged me to play as many games as I could in the series. It was a great way to start my Tales journey, and to this day it's still among my favourites in the series. Xillia's story follows Jude, a young aspiring medical student who becomes curious when his professor mysteriously disappears. Jude decides to investigate a military facility for answers, and by investigate, I mean break into. On his way, he encounters a mysterious girl named Mila who has her own reasons for investigating the building to destroy a weapon of mass destruction. From here, we have one epic adventure full of twists, turns, and surprises. Most of the time when RPG characters say, "We've come so far," they really haven't, but by the end of Xillia, it really does seem like the epic journey that it's meant to be. At the start of the game, you can choose between Jude or Mila, and this will have a slight impact on the narrative in terms of the scenes that you can view. To complement this addictive narrative, Xillia also has quite a superb bunch of characters, with many of his strong cast sticking with me all these years later. Then you've got your action combat battle system, which is fast, stacked with different mechanics, and best of all, a load of fun. It's also very difficult to master, even by the end of the game. This combat also makes the game incredibly replayable, with each of the 6 characters having their own unique special ability that will greatly alter the playing experience. Jude, for instance, is able to pivot around his enemies if it dodges timed correctly, while Elvin is able to charge his weapon for greater attack power. Due to the complexities of each character's button combinations and unique mechanics, I recommend sticking with one character per playthrough. If you ask me, Tales of Xillia ticks all the boxes and is a quality action JRPG that everyone should play. There's also a sequel which is pretty damn good too. Next up, we have Star Ocean 2: The Second Story Remake. The original PS1 release was a great game in its own right, but this entry is going to focus on the recent remake, which was an outstanding remake and improves on the original in every way. The one thing that I can say I loved most about Star Ocean 2 is the story. In fact, it's actually my favourite in the series. Star Ocean's second story takes place 20 years after the first title. This time, we have 2 main protagonists that can be selected at the start of the game, and this will provide a few unique events throughout the story. First, we have Rena, a young girl living on the planet of Expel. Then there's Claude, an Earthling who is accidentally teleported to Rena's planet. The two soon set out to investigate a meteorite that crashed down on the planet, causing monsters to appear and other natural disasters to occur. I thoroughly enjoyed the story the first time around and liked it even more the second time. Everything that the remake offers made the story delivery just that much better. In battle, you run around the battlefield controlling one character at a time but can switch between all 4 on the fly. Your basic controls include stringing together a basic combo of normal attacks or using one of 2 currently equipped battle skills. Enemies also have a break meter, which is represented by 4 shields above the enemy. When broken, you'll be able to dish out a load more damage without being attacked. The alterations made in this remake were crucial in turning the spammy, frustrating combat system of the original into something that was thoroughly enjoyable. Star Ocean 2: The Second Story Remake is one of the best remakes I have ever played. The original game had its strengths, but also plenty of issues, and the devs knew exactly what they needed to do to reimagine the game and make it the best it could possibly be. And this is why this remake makes it into my top 100 JRPGs of all time. Radiata Stories is a title that is absolutely adored by its fans. This action JRPG was developed by Tri-Ace, and despite being over 20 years old, it still looks so charming. The story follows the journey of Jack Russell as he joins the Radiata Knights as his father once did. The major conflict here is between the humans and the non-human creatures, and Jack finds himself right in the middle of it. At one point, the story branches out and you'll have to choose which side to team up with. This has an impact on the story, the allies you can recruit, and the ending. Speaking of character recruitment, this is probably the thing that I love the most about the game. There are loads of characters that can be recruited around the lands, each with their own charming personalities and abilities. The city also feels so alive, with NPCs following their own schedules and even a day-night cycle. This felt well ahead of its time. The action-focused combat is fairly simple and initiates when you run into an enemy, instantly taking you to the field of battle. Here, you can only take control of Jack, with your other party members acting on AI. However, their behaviours can be adjusted on the fly by issuing commands. While it may be basic, I did have a lot of fun with the combat and loved how you were given so many choices when composing your party. It has been a long while since I last played this gem, but Radiata Stories gave me such fond memories. Unfortunately, there is yet to be a port or remaster for modern consoles, which makes it quite a difficult game to get your hands on. But if you have had a chance to experience it, I'm sure you'll agree that this is well deserving of a spot on my list. Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure, also known as a crossbell duology, share this spot on the list since they are so directly connected and are both incredibly awesome. These two games were stuck in Japan for 12 years, with the only way to play it in English being through the fan translation by the Geofront, who did an absolutely amazing job, by the way. But in 2022, we finally got an official localization for modern consoles, which, believe it or not, actually used the Geofront's fan translation as its base, which is not something you see every day. Zero and Azure are set after the Sky trilogy and take place in Crossbell, which lies between Erebonia and Kelvard. You play the role of Lloyd Bannings, who is a rookie police detective assigned to the brand new Special Support Section, or SSS. Lloyd teams up with 3 other rookies who are all assigned to complete odd jobs around the city. These seem insignificant at first, but of course things heat up as the game progresses. As you would expect from a Trails game, the writing is slow but awesome, the characters are brilliantly developed, and there are countless moments that just made me say wow. And where Zero felt a bit smaller in scale compared to the other Trails games, Azure steps things up a notch by exploring the themes and questions we had from Zero and also presenting a much larger conflict. Now, something quite unique about this duology compared to the other games in the series is that the majority of the game is set in the city of Crossbell. Each of the districts within Crossbell have their own look and feel to them, and it was really nice spending time running around and exploring everything that I could. Having one massive hub to call home was a nice change, especially since there is so much going on in the city and so many different NPCs to talk to. In terms of combat, if you've played the other Trails games, particularly the Sky series, you'll know what to expect. Characters can move around a grid, either attacking, using EP on arts, or CP on unique character crafts. Azure then introduces a couple of new additions, including turn bonuses, which constantly make you reassess your actions based on which bonuses are coming up. This combat is a lot of fun, and I had a ball decimating my enemies with the many snazzy looking S-craft abilities. If you're into the Trails series, then playing Zero and Azure is a no-brainer, and the recent release on modern consoles is the best way to do this. After being completely blown away with what was, and still is, the most insane, unexpected, incredible franchise crossover I've ever experienced, I wanted more. I wanted to travel to more Disney planets and meet the characters I grew up with. I wanted to adventure once again with Sora, Donald and Goofy and uncover the mysteries of the galaxy. And I wanted to meet even more Final Fantasy characters who are from my favourite games of all time. Kingdom Hearts 2 gave me all of that and more. It was also released just before the convoluted cranial copulation that the series later turned into. I mean, I'm starting to think that I might be Xehanort. Wouldn't that be a plot twist and a half? Kingdom Hearts 2 takes place a year after Chain of Memories and follows Sora, Donald and Goofy as they wake up from a year-long slumber. The trio continue their quest to find their lost friends, including Riku and King Mickey, and travel to a huge range of both new and old Disney worlds. Kingdom Hearts 2 also delves deeper into the concept of the heart by introducing a new group of enemies known as the Nobodies, who are the remnants left behind when individuals become heartless. Then there's the mysterious Organization 13, who have their own plans, and meeting these characters and trying to work out everyone's motives makes for one hell of a story. The combat was also taken to the next level with some excellent new additions. First, there is reaction commands, which are context-sensitive actions allowing the player to perform powerful moves or evasions by pressing the button at the right time. Then there's drive forms, which allows Sora to transform into different forms, each with different abilities and combat styles. These additions add new layers of strategy and was definitely one of the highlights of the game. Then you've got your revamped gummy ship system, secret bosses, loads of optional content, and a secret ending. Kingdom Hearts 2 really is an incredible game and easily my favourite in the series. I cannot wait to see what happens next in Kingdom Hearts 4. I am sure that I'm not the only one who got the very first taste of Dragon Quest with Dragon Quest VIII Journey of the Cursed King. I'd obviously been hearing about this series for years, especially how popular it was in Japan, but the sad truth is that this was actually the very first Dragon Quest game that was released in Australia. Yeah, most people just don't understand the amount of amazing titles we missed out on over here in the Down Under. But it really didn't take long to understand why this series had been so critically acclaimed for such a long time. Dragon Quest VIII is one incredible JRPG, and even after all of these years, its cel-shaded graphical style still looks great. Seriously, cel-shaded graphics really do stand the test of time. Dragon Quest VIII follows the journey of an unnamed hero and his companions as they set out to lift a curse placed on the kingdom by the evil Jester Del Magus after he steals an ancient scepter. Eventually, they'll uncover the secrets about the scepter's power, which leads to facing an even greater threat than Del Magus. This story was a lot of fun and has a great mix of humor, drama, and adventure. This was the perfect game to put a smile on my face after a long day of, school. Damn, that was a while ago. And while the main character is a silent protagonist, which is something I've never been a fan of, the characters that accompany him are really awesome. Some of these characters like Yangus, Jessica, and Angelo are so memorable, and it feels like it was only yesterday that I played it last. The traditional turn-based combat system also took a massive step forward while still retaining the classic style of the earlier games. The old school input system and viewpoint remained, but the evolution to 3D character models meant that your party could now be seen when performing their actions. Then there's the tension system, which allows your party to psych themselves up to increase the power of their next attack, and this added a new layer of strategy to battles. Dragon Quest VIII put the series on the map for many Western gamers, including myself, and I couldn't have asked for a better way to be introduced to this great series. In 1995, which was somehow 30 years ago, a little RPG was released by Konami on the PlayStation 1. Little did I know then that said RPG would be the debut title of my favourite game series of all time. I am talking about Suikoden, and if you've been subbed to my channel for a while, you'll know how much of a fan I am. There was a stage in my life that I lived and breathed this series, and I still would be had it not been for the fact that we haven't had a mainline entry since 2006, but at least there are remasters for the first two games just around the corner, and I cannot put into words how excited I am about that. Suikoden 1's story is one of its greatest strengths. It's full of tragedy, emotion, betrayal, and driven by some incredible characters. But what's it all about? You play the role of Tur McDowell, the son of Tio, who is a well-respected great general of the Empire. Early in the game, one of Tur's companions, Ted, is forced to use his magical rune to defeat a monster. The thing is, this isn't just a regular rune. It is the Soul Eater, one of the 27 true runes which not only grant their users incredible powers, but also agelessness. These 27 true runes are one of the things that make this series so amazing, and they are the core reason for most of the series' major conflicts. After a string of events involving the Empire trying to obtain this rune, Ted is forced to pass it on to Tur. With nowhere to go, Tur eventually joins up with the rebellion army and helps turn the small group of freedom fighters operating out of the sewers into a massive army capable of taking the Empire down. The whole premise of turning a small group into a powerhouse force through gaining allies and forming alliances is something that makes suikoden so great. You can recruit 108 characters around the region to fight for your cause, and these characters can not only be used in battle, but may also add something to your ever-growing headquarters such as shops or minigames. Other standout features include 1 vs 1 duels and large-scale war battles, which makes these massive conflicts feel so much more epic. Suikoden is an excellent JRPG and the start of something special. It sets the groundwork for what is one of the greatest games of all time. But is Suikoden 2 going to take top spot? You'll have to wait and find out. Long story short, if you're a JRPG fan and somehow haven't experienced this series, do yourself a favor and play the remasters as soon as possible. You will not regret it. Breath of Fire 3 is usually regarded as the best in the series, and this absolute gem certainly didn't let me down. For a series whose peaks were just so high, it's really astounding that we haven't had a proper new entry, or at least a remaster since the PS2 era, but that's a conversation for another day. Breath of Fire 3 takes place sometime after the events of the first game, and no, there is no requirements to have played any others in the series. There are some nice references, but that's about it. Here, we follow yet another incarnation of our favourite blue-haired dragon Ryu, who is the remaining member of the Dragon Brood who were destroyed many years ago. Eventually, Ryu teams up with some others and sets out to find God so he can get some answers regarding his clan's history. Something I really liked about this storytelling is how the first third is told when the characters are younger, and then after a significant event in the plot, time leaps forward several years, which is when it truly starts to pick up. This story is my favourite in the series and is driven by a pretty memorable cast of characters who are also among my favourite in the series. The turn-based combat system has its basic commands that you'd expect, but with a few unique upgrades, including the dragon transformation system. This allows you to splice different dragon genes together, which allows Ryu to transform into loads of different types of dragons. It's an awesome feeling discovering a new uber powerful transformation and then seeing them wreak havoc against your enemies. Another standout mechanic is the master system. Basically, there's a dozen or so masters scattered around the world who can link to a character, but only after satisfying the specific requirements, such as dispatching 30 enemies in a row without resting. This adds a lot of variation to each playthrough and is one of my favourite things about the game. And how could I not mention the fairy village system? In a nutshell, you can turn a single hut into a full village filled with fairies that provide the party with loads of benefits. The best part is that it's fully customizable. You can build shops, inns, or even casinos. Each fairy also has its own stats, making it better suited for different tasks in the village. Breath of Fire 3 is jam-packed with awesome mechanics and tells a great story, and that is why it ranks so highly in my top JRPGs of all time. That is 60 games down and only 40 remaining in my top 100 JRPGs of all time. What did you think of this list? Was there something too high? Was there something too low? Is there anything here that you want to play? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to know more about any of these games, I've got full reviews out for most of them, so be sure to check out my channel. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. It would help out this channel so much if you could hit like, comment, or sub for more RPG content coming soon. And of course, the next episode of 31 to 40 is going to be out soon, so make sure you stay tuned for that. See you next time.